Hello, I'm John Ballantyne, and welcome to another edition of On the Marquee. I would like to thank our sponsors for this edition, Dr. John Cox and We One's Pediatrics and the Photo Place over in Austintown. Our guest today has thrilled Playhouse audiences in numerous shows over the years, particularly Cats and Pippin. I would like to welcome James Major Burns. James, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. Thanks for coming in on our first official day of bad weather.
I guess we deserved it. That's the thing. I accept these days because we have had so many good days.
We have.
I just can get through these days quicker.
That's true, yeah. Give us a little rundown on your theater background and how the Playhouse exactly got involved.
So it's so funny because I'm becoming one of those people that are kind of like a theater vet when I do shows sometimes. I'm one of the older members of the cast, and I've like traded places with a lot of the new people I see coming in now. But my career started at Top Hat Productions in Struthers, and I did about 4 shows there. And what's really funny is I only ever knew about the Youngstown Playhouse. So when we were auditioning there, I thought we were just rehearsing there to come and do the show here.
Oh, okay.
So as the time's going on, I'm like, so when are we going to the Playhouse? And they're like, what are you talking about?
Well.
I had no idea about any other theater. I didn't know they would use different spaces to, create theater. I only knew that this was the big Youngstown Playhouse. I've come here to see shows. That's the only theater in our city. Mm-hmm. And I was, 20 years old, and I still had no idea. But I did my first few shows there. And then in 2013, I believe, another funny story, Joshua William Green, he asked me, he was like, come to this audition with me. So I'm thinking he's asking me to just come for like support.
Right.
And I get here, he said, oh no, you're auditioning too. I'm like, he's just giving me a push. I sang a Beyonce song. And that was my first show here. It was Legally Blonde. And I started doing every show I could be a part of after that. And it went from Legally Blonde, I did The Wiz, and then as you mentioned, Cats. Pippin was my first role that was very different because I'm used to playing the high energy character. But
that was a great show.
I loved it. I loved, the Youngstown Playhouse helped me really get introduced to theater and the way it works. I got to see a lot of the behind the scene work. And Top Hat was a smaller theater, and it was a family basically running the theater. Right. So here it was more like of the business side that I got to see with the box office, a bigger venue, the behind the scenes with the lights and production value of it. So it really introduced me to the career that versus when I was kind of just doing it to get my feet wet and
right.
doing something I love. But here I really got to see how I could I really wanted to do this as a career. And it's 2020 now, so what is that, about 7 years?
Yeah.
I've been here. I can't wait until it gets to the 10th.
Oh yeah. Well, it's coming fast. It's it's next, well, as we're speaking, 4 years. People won't see this until it gets closer. Now every actor, as they get started and as they work, are influenced by other people. Other actors they work with, people they watch. Who are some of the people that have influenced you along the way?
So, some of the people would be Joshua William Green. I must say I did most of my shows with him, and he's a great teacher. He's been a great friend, and I'm sure many people will say this about him. He has a really good way of helping you just like do you. Because I would try to do things that Josh did, because for me, I was like, okay, so Josh is good, so just do what Josh does. But he's like, no, do what you do.
Yeah. Right.
So he really was a person in the beginning that like helped influence me and push me. I'll shout out Nikita Jones, who was a fixture at the Youngstown Playhouse. She actually asked me to do Hairspray at Top Hat. It was the first show ever. And the funny thing about that is I thought she found out I could sing randomly. But no, she actually we had a dance class together. She was like, oh no, I just needed more dancers. I was like, oh, that's great too. But yeah, so she invited me into this world, and then we did several of our shows together. Her mom, Miss Joyce Ann Jenkins Jones, was the stage manager of Youngstown. So I got to work early with people who had been doing this for years, having 20 or 30 shows under their belt. And
so you got to learn from some of the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then coming to the Playhouse and getting to work with David Gendry, Carla D. Gibson, Miss Brandy, as I like to call her. Just all of these people who had, like literally everyone, like all of these people who cared so much about this and have been here for years. Jimmy. And like I see their faces on the wall. When I was young, Carla sang the Plaza Optical song for the their what do you call that? Like the eye wear place or the eye doctor. And I used to walk around singing that song all the time. I never knew. So when I met her and found out that, first of all, I had known her maybe a year or so already. And then Josh was like, yeah, you know Carla sang that song. It was, you know, it's like meeting a celebrity. Yeah, I had sang that song as a child. And it's just the Plaza Optical if you have an eye for style. But so many people locally and the people that I have been close to inspire me. And I take something from everybody I work with. So
that's a good way to look at it. Good way to look at it. You mentioned Top Hat a little bit earlier.
Yes.
And there's, 15, 16 theaters in this.
And growing.
And growing. What is it about the Playhouse that stands out for you as an actor?
The stage. They have the biggest and for me the best stage. It's they have the fly systems. A lot of other theaters that I did do work with, they had just the stage and we basically brought everything onto the stage all the time. But the stage will be one thing. But like I said, some of the people who have worked here, I've worked with a lot of people who have gone on to do professional things. Or some of the people that we've worked under have done professional things and they found their way back here. So I have gone on and went, to do some professional work. And the Playhouse has definitely prepared me for what I went on to do. And I've done shows at other places and they all help, but the Playhouse runs it like the big dogs run it.
Right.
And when I recently did Shrek at La Comedia Dinner Theater. All summer was my first big musical gig. I was away for 2.5 months. I did 58 shows as Donkey, but I was like the oldest person in the house. And I was still so excited to be there. And I was just so happy that one, they helped the Playhouse, the Youngstown Playhouse Academy, as I said. They helped me prepare physically and mentally. So having so much talent here, because you don't just get a role, you have to compete. Right. The audition process, like when I auditioned for The Wiz and Hairspray, they were pulling us in and putting you here with people versus some other auditions that just have you come in, sing, and you leave, or come in, sing, do a dance, and then you leave. The way they were pushing us around and comparing us to each other, it really made me nervous. So when I was at Shrek, and everyone's like, oh, well, I go to AMDA in New York City. Well, I go to AMDA in Los Angeles. And they're from all of these like big musical theater schools. They're like, hey, where'd you go? I said the Youngstown Playhouse Academy in Youngstown, Ohio. Because that's how I honestly feel. I watch so many people and like, I've been around such great talent. And for me, none of those people actually, I'm not gonna say none, but most of those people aren't born in those cities. Right. They travel there. So they take their great talent from their small cities and make this big city great. But what I like about Youngstown is we have all of this talent here. Yeah. And instead of everybody just running away to leave and try to do it for themselves, we stay here and make each other greater. And even though there's a lot of different theaters around here, I love it because I think everyone needs a place to fit in, and sometimes you feel like you don't fit in a place. Sometimes the energy here is better for you than the energy here. And I like that there's so many places for people to express themselves. Because at certain theaters, or for some people, they like to do it for fun, or they're just doing it to express themselves in a certain way. But then you do have people like me who take it very seriously or want to do it as a career. Yeah. So that can be intimidating to people. Some people, it can be frustrating to some people. But you're going to have people like that everywhere. So I'm so happy that there are all of these theaters that have a door open for people to come in to be vulnerable and express themselves.
Okay. Now you are a very dynamic performer in everything you do.
Thank you.
You've got this dynamic aura around you. Now you do mainly musicals.
Yes.
Do you have any interest in doing like a good meaty drama or a comedy or something?
What's funny is I always, when I think of straight plays, I only think about doing drama. I never like really think about doing comedy because most of the musical theater I do has like the comedy in it. But I've always wanted to do a drama. But my love first was music. So when I found out I could do it with acting on stage, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'll just do this for the rest of my life. But I just feel like it would have to be, like the older I get and then what I'm doing now and where I am in my career, what I'm trying to be, like it would have to be certain situations, like it would depend on who's directing it and where it would be in the time. But I do look, and one of the only straight plays I've done was the Colored Museum back here in the Moyer Room, directed by Pat Foltz, but it was so good, and I wish I could have done more, and I actually did it late, and I think someone dropped out, so, you know, we jumped in to help, but it was still amazing, and I wish I would have auditioned for it. I just didn't think I would have time because there were other roles I would have loved to have an opportunity to portray. But there are some shows that I see that I would like to be a part of, but then like working a 9 to 5 sometimes
it makes it tough.
Yeah, it makes it tough, so I just don't have time.
Work always gets in the way.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, so if it's a musical, I could get through it, and I love to sing. Like I love to sing so much, so I'm always like choosing musicals over the opposite.
Well, I can understand, because if you have only a certain amount of time that you can devote to it, you want to do what you really want to do.
Because I've tried to do like different things sometimes. I'm like, you know, like, next time I'm just going to go in my gut and do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because of time.
Well, yeah, that's really the only way you can do it. Now, over the years, in the past, it's been difficult to attract the African American community to the Playhouse in a participation way.
Yes.
How has that changed recently?
Well, I do think one of the reasons I think it's difficult, but maybe because some of us aren't introduced to musical theater so early, or, you know, just in life. I didn't realize The Wiz, the movie, was musical theater when I was watching it. I didn't understand that Grease was musical theater when I was watching it, or The Little Shop of Horrors, which were like the only 3 things I had ever seen that was a musical, because everything else was just music to me. So I don't think a lot of people find interest in it because it's not introduced to them or something they're not familiar with. A lot of people of all races always say, I don't want to hear anybody talking and singing. Like, why can't they just say it? And what we did with our cabaret show, and what I try to get people to understand is, I'm like, everything that you watch is theater. It's entertainment, but it's theater. It starts there first. And a lot of these artists or actors, I'm like, a lot of them started on the stage first. So I feel like, again, it's just not something that was introduced really to the community for them to have an appreciation with it. But there are some instances they have a relationship with it, such as The Wiz, because it was a grand movie with Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, and several other people to make that. Richard Pryor was The Wiz. He was he was The Wiz. And there are certain musicals that have been turned into movies that is easy for them to relate to, like Dreamgirls. Dreamgirls had Beyonce in it, Jennifer Hudson, Jamie Foxx. So there were so many people for them to take interest into that movie, and the music was good, so they could relate to that. But there aren't many other shows that I would think they would even know. But I do think it's changed when they do come see shows like that, or a lot of people say there's nothing for us at the Playhouse. There's all shows we don't know. So what they're meaning is there's like no black shows, there's no black people in these roles. And I'm like, well, little do you know, none of the roles were written for black people either, but we're still there doing them. So when they come see a show like Dreamgirls, we try to get them to express to us like how it made them feel to be there, and we try to get them to understand that they want roles for or shows for themselves, like they want to see themselves on stage, but we're like, hey, well, we're here and we do these other shows too, so you could come and see yourselves through us, or just support us in this way too. And the unfortunate thing is they want more like black shows, basically. It's like, well, there's just not that many. And then to do those shows, we need black people to do those shows. So I just think throughout life there's not been a relationship with theater and like the black community that they're still like interested. Even after seeing a great show, they're like, oh, well, that was great.
Well, I think it's something that's going to take over time to cultivate. And I think they've done a good job here recently. I mean, because I remember we did Raisin here years ago.
Oh yeah.
And we had a terrible time casting it. I mean, we ended up with a really good cast, but it took a long time.
They just did it not too long ago at the Hopewell, and I know they were having a little trouble with trying to cast it. But again, I think the pool is small, and I think that goes into, for the community to want more shows, they have to understand that they have to come out and be in those shows, because you can't cast a show if there's no people to use. Exactly. And I mean, we're short with black men, but that's also men, period. Sometimes it's just hard to get men in the show, let alone black men. But again, I do think they have come out more since I've been here. I think the community has come out more, and I've seen more of us be on the stage too. So I just think that there needs to be somebody. They need to see themselves. Exactly. Like when they say representation matters, it really does. Oh yeah. So even though there's not a lot of shows, I wish we would have had a bigger black community come out to see Carolina Change, because that show, it was such a good message behind that show, and they definitely would have seen themselves in that show. But I think if it would have been a movie, they would have been able to.
Well, yeah. The medium makes a difference. The medium makes a difference. I got to take a quick break here. I want to thank our sponsors again for this edition, Dr. John Cox, We One's Pediatrics, and the Photo Place over in Austintown. Every actor has got great stories, backstage, on stage, things that go wrong, whatever it is. What are some of your favorite stories of things that have happened?
Oh my gosh. So the Youngstown Playhouse has a resident bat. And there's a scene in a chorus line where the guy falls down and hurts his ankle. And they're like, someone call Sydney Rhodes, Dr. Sydney Rhodes. So we were standing on stage during the chorus line, and one day the scene is happening and the bat comes out. And so we named the bat Sydney Rhodes. But that wasn't the first time the bat came out. One day we were, a chorus line, if you know it, you stand on that line for a lot of the show. Oh, yeah. And one day the bat decided to come out. And we just there, and our poses like, oh. Like, I'm like, I like things like that in theater, because it's like the show must go on. What can I get through? Yeah. You know, what can I need to stay in character. I'm not even needing to stay in character. I am this person. How would this person react to the bat? But it was so funny. And the bat just flew around like the top of our head. Like, as many times as the bat has come out, there's only one time he was eye level with me. And I like fell to the ground, but besides that, he just flies over. Yeah. They don't want any problems. No. Another thing during the chorus line, one day, I don't know what happened, but 7 people missed a cue. And they were all late coming on stage. And we were on stage, the lights were going crazy, we were a light queue ahead. And they all came and they ran. I'll never forget it. They were all running and they just stopped. And they're like, when do you go on? It's not like other shows. You can just walk on or walk off in another show and it makes sense. But this show is very particular. Okay. So you didn't just get dismissed, you were supposed to be back. So when they all came storming back on stage, it was hilarious, might I add.
Well, you mentioned the bat, because I remember we did Dracula here. We've done it a few times. But there was one performance where the bat, I mean, they had a bat rigged up to fly, but before they used it, the bat actually came out on cue and flew over the stage.
Wouldn't that be great if you could have the bat come out on cue every time, like have a little treat in the air?
Yeah, that was fun. It was fun. Now, the Playhouse has been around almost 100 years. Yes. What is it, do you think, about this particular theater, about the Youngstown Playhouse, that makes it so viable for this community?
I think it was a lot of people's first experience with theater ever. When we were young, we used to get bused to the Youngstown Playhouse to see shows. So again, it was a lot of our first experiences ever. Even if you've never come inside, you ride down the street and you're like, hey, that big building's sitting back there. And you might wonder what it is, or you just see that it's the Youngstown Playhouse. So a lot of people don't even know how it's been in their lives, because sometimes you ever have one example of something and you're somewhere and nothing else comes up, you can't say anything. You're like, oh, well, we have a theater in my town because that's the only thing you can have input in. But that's like the Youngstown Playhouse. It's like touching people without them even knowing. And I didn't realize, I mean, like for me, it helped me find myself. So I was struggling with who I was in the world, and to come out and do something that I was terrified to do. I was so nervous doing my first show here. And the way we learned the music, like I said, you had the musical director sitting there in front of all of us teaching us these parts, and I had never been under like that type of stress from a musical director. It was easy before, so I was just like in awe, and I was terrified. But I didn't know, like, I was just growing. Like, the Playhouse became my home. And I think that's what it becomes for a lot of people who come through here. Like, it becomes a home. It's literally my family. It's my theater family. And I think for a lot of us who come here, or people who've been here 30 or 40 years, people don't just stay around that long for no reason.
No, they don't.
And there's a lot of people. Like I said, you can see some of these actors. You can see Jimmy's face on this wall from the time he's 17 to his growing age right now. And that's what's beautiful to me, is how much it has touched so many people that decided to stay around. And that's why it makes me want to stay around. And I met my fiance here.
There you go. There you go.
We met here, we got engaged here, and we will be married here. So by the time everyone sees this, I would have been married on the main stage.
Oh, great. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Now, you did a series, or a couple of series on Netflix.
So we did.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
We did some background work on a Netflix series called Mind Hunters, which we auditioned for right here at the Youngstown Playhouse, which I thought that was amazing. And I saw I forgot which show. It might have been Caroline that we were rehearsing for. But when I saw the audition thing, I just thought it was a show here. I didn't realize what it was. I wasn't even gonna go. I was just having a bad week or whatever, and I was like, I'm not going. They were like, just go downstairs and go to it. And we went, me and Trey got on it, and I was like, well, we never would have gotten that opportunity, you know, without the Youngstown Playhouse. And I'm like, I'm sure if they were like, who do you guys love? I'm like, I'm sure they might have been like, those two guys are good. Or because, you know, again, especially with Trey, these are some of Trey's best friends here. He's here way more than I am. Yeah. Like he also has the time to be here, but he is always here. I love calling him, and I'm like, where are you? He's like, oh, I'm at the Playhouse, just, you know, on stage talking to Johnny or helping Johnny with something. I'm at the Playhouse, just in the office talking to Jimmy. That's how I was when I first started coming here. I'm sorry, I might have got around away from your original question.
No. And you touched on one of the great things about the Playhouse and about community theater in general, I think. People help out in different areas, whereas in professional theater they don't, mainly because they're not allowed to because of the unions. But here, people help out on stage. They help in the costume shop. They'll help in the office if they need something done in the office. That's one of the things I think that brings people together here also.
And I played sports, so I am used to being on a team. And it's a different type of team, but that's like how I'm used to doing work. So again, I just love the space. I just love how big it was back there. It's like professional theater. And like you said, I met Jimmy before he was a house operations manager. He was just on stage helping paint, putting stuff together. Before I even knew he did shows. And he was, you know, running the spotlights. But that was also Matt White, who's the musical director. But here he is like helping build the show, running wires, and just helping in every area. Same with Johnny. And, you know, a lot of other people. You see them for one show running the spot. You see them for one show helping with costumes. And the next show they might be the assistant stage manager. But it's just, again, you love something, but you just don't do it for love. Right. It's like something that is bringing you back there. And just to see those people come back after all of these years, and just to see so many people come here for their first experience and want to come back. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, am I able to have to help on this or help on this? But what I do like is that the Playhouse is helping people learn the entire form of theater versus just being on the stage. Like, and then it's the camaraderie of just being able to come here and, you know, help Johnny, even if it's like one time or one day, I can just come here and help him and just talk to him. That's what we do. That's where you get to know each other.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's like when you strike the set, it's like, oh, nobody feels like doing this, but we're gonna do it together.
Yeah.
And because it has to get done, and people decide to do it because they don't make anyone stay. Anyone, they don't make you stay. But we all come out and we're like, all right, let's get this down. We're gonna tear down the set that these lovely people built for us. But that's where the relationships are really formed. Because during the show, when you come here, you have time for rehearsal. You got to get a lot of work done. But when you're building things, you have those in between times to really talk to each other, and you're helping each other, and especially when safety is involved. That's where you form trust and things. So
yeah. Now you mentioned Trey numerous times. You guys did a cabaret act also. Tell us a little bit.
Fierce Artistic Friends Live is a show that we came up with. So I'll tell you adults out there that it really didn't stand for that at first. The acronym was Fierce as the cuss word, the F word. But I said, well, we can't put that on a program, not if we want children to come. So we came up with the acronym Fierce Artistic Friends. And it's really an umbrella of how I feel about, my theater family and my performance friends. Is I feel like we're all great. I think we're all fierce performers. Everyone's artistic, and we're all friends. And I feel like we can take that wherever. That's how everyone comes into my family. Like, you end up being my fierce artistic friend on all levels. And the FAF, it stands for FAF. So that's why we created the acronym. And we had this group of friends, and we called ourselves FAF. So we just wanted to put our friendship on stage. And I kind of felt like I didn't know where we were going with actual theater, and I wanted to give myself an opportunity to produce, direct, write, and anything else that, or choreograph a dance if I wanted to. And I also wanted to give my friends that same opportunity, because a lot of times I say I want to do something and I won't do it. But that year I was trying to tell myself, I did tell myself, if you want to do something, you have to do it. I have a podcast now. I always wanted a talk show. So I said, I'm just going to give myself a talk show. I have a computer, I have some headphones. This is my talk show. And I didn't want to wait for anybody to give me anything anymore.
Right.
So I was just trying to take the opportunities that I had. So we created Fierce Artistic Friends Live. We did 3 series of it. And it was really us growing and becoming ourselves on stage, but we just went through every part of our personality. So there were some drama scenes, there's some comedy, there's a lot of dance, and there's a lot of singing. And that's where we kind of got our feet wet, and Trey with directing, because me and Trey are in charge. So we have a group of friends, which is sometimes harder to work with because we just get there and we want to hang out.
Yeah.
So we have to give each other the same energy and respect that we would someone else as our teacher. And again, it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I always wanted to create my own vision and bring it to life. And the fact that I had my friends, my big thing that year was I need to find my Megazord. The Power Rangers were great when they were fighting individually, but when they brought that Megazord together, they were almost unstoppable. So that's how I felt about the entire series. I was we got to figure out how to come together, bring our talents together, because we're all great individually, but when we come together, it's like the solo number in a show. It's amazing. But when everybody gets on stage and sings that song together, oh, the power. You can almost feel, I'll never forget, when we did the final number in Cats, it felt like wind. It felt like wind coming from behind me. I was I just felt all of this energy and all of this power. I literally felt like wind was from behind me.
That show could have been matched up against the Broadway production anytime. It was a solid Broadway production, and there was no weakness in that show at all.
I will tell you, when you asked me about one of the moments, I always remember our funny moments. I had never really cried tears of joy. I cried tears of joy at the end of The Wiz, but I sobbed at the last show for Cats. But it was before the show started. And I didn't know how I was actually going to get on the stage, because Susie came in and she said our prayer for us, and she started crying. And she got us all, but I tell you, she got me, and I went upstairs, and I was just trying to calm myself down and tried so hard for 20 minutes, because they call up places, but people were still coming in. And I could not calm down. And I was just so happy, because it was such a test for physicality in that song. We learned our music in the first 2 weeks from Nancy Anderson Wolfgang, because they hired her, but she had to go back to YSU. So she came back, she was gonna be there for 2 weeks, and then she wouldn't be there for like the next 2 weeks or so. So she taught us that music, which is extremely hard.
Oh, yeah.
We worked on those dances. We would be in the parking lot until dark. We would turn our car lights on and we would just play the music from our cars and we would dance. So we worked hard. And like those bonds I'm talking about, like we were with each other, like from that, you know, when we get here from 6 o'clock, sometimes till like 12 o'clock, midnight or after. And we just sit in the parking lot and talk to each other. We really bonded. But another thing about that is we all knew each other already. Most of us already had a connection with each other. A lot of the cast was a chorus line. So we already had that connection through singing and dance. And Cats was such a show that we already knew that people don't like. And there's like not like a storyline.
No, there's not.
But where the excitement comes in is the singing and the dancing. And it was like, for me, it was like track. It's like you're a team, but you all run individually and you kind of compete against each other. So for me, I wanted to see like where I would just even, where I fell in between like so many talented people. But I like to compete, but not in a like rivalry kind of way,
Right.
but just a healthy competition to make each other better. You know, iron sharpens iron. But it was so much talent in that show.
It was.
And I will never, ever forget it. It came together so well. Our costumes were
they were phenomenal.
amazing.
Now, there are some shows that are just an experience, and that was an experience. I mean, it had to be for the actors. It certainly was.
It was an entire experience. Like you said, some shows it's just, you go through the flow. You go through the flow of the show. It's like, oh, that was a nice show. But some shows, like, it gets inside. And
The Playhouse is just about to celebrate its 100th, coming up real soon, as we've mentioned. As they enter their second 100 years, what would you like to see them concentrate on?
I would like the Playhouse to focus more on their business side and community involvement, because I want them to be around another 100 years, so they definitely will have to focus on the business. And the community is what makes up the Playhouse, and especially the community around it. So people come from near and far to see the shows, but I do want to see more of the people who live down the street walk to the Playhouse to see a show. Like, you don't even have to take your car because you live right around the corner.
Exactly.
I want to see them expand. I want more people to invest their time, efforts, and money into the Playhouse, because it's our gym. They don't know that this is the oldest living community theater in the whole United States. That's right here. Because I think a lot of people want to have a LeBron James, you know, from their city. They want the Serena Williams or like the Michael Jordan, that they can say, oh yeah, they're from my city. But there's, you know, one in a dozen or one in several dozens of those people.
Yeah.
But there are so many of us who are in this web that leave and do great things and come back. And I don't need my name to be on a cereal box or, you know, on the TV screen. And I'm glad that I know other people here like that, that go off and do great things still, and go off and their dreams have come true. And they've come through the Playhouse and they've gone on. I like to think the Playhouse has helped them, like they've, you know, helped me get to that position. So that's happening already. So I want the community to just have a love for it, one like I do, but I want them to appreciate the art and the talent that's here, instead of having to feel like you have to go to Cleveland or Pittsburgh, because a lot of times a lot of people are driving to those cities.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to say no one's driving to Youngstown and to bring their talent here, because people do come here. But we have a lot of talent that sits
Phenomenal.
right here. And I just want us to figure out how to get people intrigued and involved to want to come here, because people want to see flashy lights and stuff, and they don't understand how many donations that those huge theaters get, or how many people sponsor them, because they know what's coming back, because you can get 500,000 people, or not 500,000, or, you know, 5,000 people to sit in there, so they know where the money's coming back in to sponsor it. So I just really hope, like, with our community involvement, people will invest their times and want to just be in here, just want to come in here and sit. in the lobby and be like, hey, is it okay? You know, I just live down the street. I just wanted to read a book. I just want to be inside the Playhouse. So I hope it grows. I hope it expands. I want the Playhouse to, I love this building, but I want it to expand and have more space for the community to be involved or be able to just be inside the Playhouse. I want like it to be, I just want the doors to be open. I want them to know the doors are open for them at all times. And I don't know if they know that yet. And I know the Playhouse feels that way, but I don't know if the people
I think you're right.
know
They
that.
may not know it.
Do you know you're welcome here? Do you know we want you here?
Exactly, yeah. I know I talk to a lot of people that say, oh, I've never been to the Playhouse in all the years they've lived here, which is amazing.
One thing I do with my, the reason I like to do my podcast here is because I feel like it's killing two birds with one stone. I get to do my podcast and they get to come into the Playhouse and I can be like, hey, come see a show. But it was striking to me that so many people has said, this is my first time ever coming in here. I'm like, really?
It's phenomenal.
Or I haven't been in here since I was a kid. I'm like, why not?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's been here.
Well, James, our time is up, but I certainly thank you for coming in. It's always good to see you.
Yes.
And we'll see you on stage next time, whatever it is it's going to be.
Oh, yes. Well, my wedding.
Your wedding. There you go.
Stage.
Okay. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on another edition of On the Marquee. Bye-bye.